Welcome to the origin stories of Moonshot. I'm Father Kyle Kowalczyk. I'm the author of Moonshot. I'm joined by Chad Berg, who is the composer of the music for the musical, and also a special guest, Haynes Brooke, who actually is the originator of the story. And so we're just gonna talk about the collaboration and how this project came to be. And first, I want to ask Haynes, who was my writing mentor 20 years ago or so. I did Act One program, and then Haynes was my mentor, and then he let me read a screenplay that he had written, and it was Long Shot. And how did you even? I loved it. How did you come up with it?
Well, I've been thinking about that. It's been a long time since I wrote it, but because of Moonshot, I've been sort of revisiting that time.
Yeah.
And I think I just had an idea that it might make a good story, but the fact of the matter is, I was mentored by some fantastic screenwriters. First, Chris and Kathy Riley, who are a screenwriting team in Los Angeles. I had spent a whole year with them incubating a different story idea and turning that into a screenplay. And then by the time I got to first working on Long Shot, I was in a writer's group with Jan and Lee Batchelor, who are amazing high-level Hollywood screenwriters. Jan is now a highly esteemed and fully tenured professor at USC in their Department of Cinema Art. So people are excited and feel like it's a privilege of a lifetime to study under her, and I was in her writers group. So while I was just venturing into mentoring other screenwriters and trying to pass it along, when I talk about how my original screenplay came to be finished and came to be the story it was, it's just not a complete story unless I talk about the people who mentored me, because I learned so much from them and the whole group of writers. There were a bunch of other writers that were sort of my peers. And I would just say, with regard to the arts, there's always the sort of lonely artist paradigm. But my experience is, well, a certain amount of work you have to put in just on your own, without a doubt. Artists connecting with other artists is super important. So that's a foundational element of how I came to have a completed screenplay like Long Shot. Now, where the idea came from, I think that just came out of my brain somewhere, and I got excited about it, and then I got a lot of guidance as to how to really craft that story so it would be compelling and have some thematic depth.
Well, and Haynes, I got a question for you. So Father Kyle has read your screenplay. I have not. If we could maybe stay away from spoilers that might overlap in our shows, I'd be really interested to hear just kind of the general premise and about some of the themes that were in Long Shot originally.
Yeah. Well, good question. And, the reverse is true for me. I know nothing about Moonshot. So I don't know what Father Kyle has done with the roots of my story and how it's been changed and shaped. And so when you get around, Chad, to one day reading the screenplay, it'll be a surprise for you. When I get to see Moonshot for the first time, it's going to be a big surprise for me, and I don't want any spoilers either. So it's a very fun situation to be in. I think I had this character in mind, and Melvin, the lead character in it, the hero of the story, and the thing that interested me, I think, was just different ways of looking at the world. And Melvin had this statistically driven, very rational, mathematically oriented way of encountering the world. And it was really about risk mitigation, like that was his profession, but it was also the way he lived his life. Like, the more I can eliminate the possibility that something will go wrong and back it up with statistics, the the less likely something horrible will happen. But of course, that's not a good way to go through life. I don't think so. It's not the way I go through life. But I have those elements, of course, like anyone. I don't want to invite unnecessary risk into my life. And then, I think a broad range of characters came into my imagination as the kind of people that Melvin is likely to encounter in life that are going to free him from this, from the confines of always analyzing things from this one fixed perspective. So maybe that's it. I think I also like the idea of someone who gets, without giving anything away, pushed into a place where they're forced to confront sort of the most fundamental questions of life and how they react to that, and putting Melvin in crazy situations that really challenge his view of life. It makes for fun, a lot of fun. And then I think I was just intrigued by the possibility of space travel, as part of my childhood. I'll never forget seeing the moon landing. I saw the moon landing when I was a little kid on my grandfather's black and white TV. It's just etched in my memory. So it's a nice time now with the Artemis mission. It's brought the moon back into the public consciousness. I think these are some of the factors. And thematically, of course, I'm looking at, well, not just what's wrong with his worldview, but also, what's stronger, what's a more beautiful, truer, more powerful foundation on which to build your life. And of course, these are themes I'm always thinking about. These are probably the kind of questions that my mentors and other people in my writers group are sort of suggesting that I might ask. And then I want it to be funny. I like to write comedy, and so it's a mix of who are the kind of people that can really come into someone's life and shake it up and challenge the things that he believes in. What are the kind of situations that a person can be put in that will challenge his beliefs and cause him to really look hard at fast at what is true and what's left when the stakes get high. And then I'm looking at what's a good adventuresome story, and also just what is funny. What is funny to me? So those are the elements that are were in play for me in originally crafting the story.
Yeah. So Haynes, are you Melvin?
I'm not, but I no, I'm definitely not. But I have a Melvinic side. In I think actually part of the arc of my life has been learning to put my analytical, intellectualized understanding of the world, which is important and which I value and which is useful, learning to put that in the right perspective, and learning to open my, I would say my mind, but maybe more accurate to say my heart. Open my heart to a way of encountering the world that is not primarily grounded on intellectual, analytical breakdown of the situation. Okay, you need that, but that shouldn't be the fundamental thing. The fundamental way to go through life, it seems to me, is attuned to love, connected in relationship to other people, which cannot be defined. Other people can't be reduced to numbers or percentages, and then using the sort of mathematical or rational or that's not the perfect word for it, but analytical capabilities in the right place at the right time for the right reasons. And yeah, that's an ongoing journey for me. But I don't think I was so far. So the fun thing about Melvin is you can say, okay, as an artist, as a writer, as a human being, this is a theme that interests me. I'm going to examine it. Now, from a dramatic point of view, a great way to examine it is just find someone create a character that's just 100% in that realm and see what their journey is at the extreme challenges of life. So, no, I'm not Melvin, but he's a side of me for sure, and I think a side of everyone to a greater or lesser extent.
Well, this is encouraging because I think that you're going to find, Haynes, when you see the show, that perhaps a lot of the maybe some of the stories moments have changed or have been kind of built out in a certain way that we envisioned it, but a lot of the kind of the core principles that you're talking about are still there, about kind of that uncomfortability, being pushed out of yourself and confronted with difficult things, and ultimately kind of finding your way out of that and finding where you're supposed to be through love of others and relationship with others.
Yeah. Good. That sounds right.
Yeah. Chad and I went back a lot. Like, okay, it's like how we wrestle with controlling our life, our fate, our destiny, allowing providence, all this stuff, So I mean, it's certainly in the story enough that we couldn't get away from that when we were taking it to tweaking it a little bit.
Well, it's fun for me to hear you sort of mention providence, and because chance or providence, depending on how you look at it, certainly plays a role in it. I wonder if I could turn the tables with you, Father Kyle, and ask you all those years ago, 20 years ago when you've read it, and maybe 15 years ago when you asked me in an email, hey, I might be interested in adapting this. What was it about that story that made you think this is something I want to work with? And maybe what made you think, I envision a different medium in which the story could morph a little bit and be told.
Yeah. So I'd done the screenwriting program, and that's when I read your script. And then later I went on and kind of got back into playwriting, which was my first love, and realized that my training in screenwriting was, just exactly what I needed, because it really gave us the structure to think that, because a movie and a stage play move the same way. They have the same structure. And so I got back into playwriting, and as I was thinking of plays that I could do, your screenplay, even though I'd read it 10 whatever years before, there were moments in it that just still resonated with me. I'd read it maybe once 10 years before. And there's just those moments, like Melvin was such a compelling character that his beats, his turning points, his climactic moments, his, everything is lost moments are so good that I wanted to put that on the stage. And so I just what the heck? I'm gonna give him a call. So yeah, that's when I emailed you and asked you if I could do that. I don't think I started working on it for another 5 or 10 years, but at least I had your permission to do it at that point. So, and what was? Remind me, you had told me that you had submitted it to studios, and did it almost get made into a film at some point?
I think that's an overstatement, but it did attract some attention. Had a producer who got very excited about it and wanted to take it to executives at Disney and some other places, and so and folks who read it seemed pretty high on it for sure. The issue is, wouldn't be a cheap movie to make, it needed to be a big studio movie. It couldn't really have been made as an independent movie. I was a screenwriter with no great track record, and so it did what I think a lot of really good scripts do, which is it created some excitement and interest for a little while, and a fair number of people looked at it and said, this would make a really great movie, but we're not going to make it, or this would be fantastic, but our slate of $100 million comedies is full, or whatever it is. However executives think, it is a brutally difficult business in which to get big budget movies made. And while this was not a gigantic budget movie, it did involve space travel and all of that. And this was, in a slightly different era in terms of like what special effects cost and how things could be done. So it was not everything had to go right for this to get made. So this is one of those wonderful lessons, though. I mean, for you to ask, like, what happened to it, to be a screenwriter, and also to a certain extent to be an artist of any kind, means you're going to make a certain amount of stuff that you pour your heart out into, that you love, is like your baby. You care about it, and the world is not gonna pick it up and carry it over the finish line for you. So accepting that that's the case is part of being an artist, and I'm an actor also. Okay. I audition for stuff, and sometimes I don't get it. Mostly I don't get it. And it might be a reflection on me, but sometimes it's not. Like, I just made a short film, and I auditioned a bunch of actors. So now I'm on the other side of things, and you've just been through auditions for Moonshot. I saw some actors and I thought, this guy is fantastic. And that is also a great audition, and I'm not going to use him. And it has nothing to do with his talent or what he did. It's just, so I can imagine some executive having read Longshot and said, this is a great movie, and I would love to make it, but I'm not. And I can't, because X, Y, Z, and you never know those things. So you just have to, let go. And the joyous thing for me is I let that one go. And then years later, I get a call from you saying, hey, this baby of yours that you thought was going to spend the rest of its days in a drawer gathering dust is now headed for the stage in Minnesota. It's super exciting, and a wonderful reminder, that when you honor an impulse and you tell a story or make art or write a song or whatever it is that you do, paint a painting or whatever, it's not all in your hands. You don't know. You don't know the effect. It's just like if you're kind to someone, you don't know the effect that's going to have on their life. 10 years down the road, they may remember that moment. They may not. So it's lovely to me that this story has found this new life, and maybe this is what it was meant to be instead of a Hollywood movie.
Yeah, maybe. It's funny too, thinking back on it. I'm not even sure why I thought I could adapt this, because for those who haven't read the screenplay, which is most people in the world, there's a lot of different scene locations. There's, like, if I recall, there's huge warehouses. There's a museum, like a space museum. I think they stole a spaceship and then built the landing station or something, like all this. I'm like, how did I even think I was going to do this? But like, I don't worry about details like that. That's for the stage designer to worry about. I just want to make this story on that stage, like I want to put that on this page. But so, like, tweaking that was kind of the process. Okay, yeah, I gotta put this in. And then actually, so, I'm writing this 10, 15, 20 years later after you're thinking about it. So you wrote it, what, early 2000?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Yeah. So early 2000. And now in 2020, 2026 now, well, we have SpaceX, and, people are literally, civilians are literally getting launched. And so it didn't make any sense anymore to have to steal a rocket and, well, people are just doing this. Why don't we find somebody else who's already doing this and hitch a ride with them? So, it just changed how we were going to get to where we were trying to get to, so just 20 years made that big of a difference in the script.
And I won't tell you guys how old I was in 2000. Just make you guys feel better about yourselves.
Yeah. Hey, I'm so excited, Chad, for you to read this screenplay when all the dust is settled, and you get to go back and see the roots of it. It is true when you write a movie, and then it doesn't happen right away, and you put it in the drawer, and then someone says, "Hey, 10 years later, what else have you got?" You pull it out. Man, the world changes fast. You got to check. Well, you got to update the cell phones and all the now there's electric cars or whatever it is. Our culture and society are changing fast. Yeah. So when I wrote it. I wrote about a guy interested in going to the moon with the state of space travel in 2003 or whatever it was. And so, yeah, I'm not surprised. You could either do it as a early 2000s period piece or make some changes.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of like, well, now we have to do it because in another 20 years, people won't even be that impressed about anybody trying to go to the moon. Like, yeah, I can go to the moon anytime I want.
Yeah. It'll be a period piece for sure. But, to your point, Haynes, our wonderful and talented director, Michael, he's commented many times about how this show is a screenplay and it's presented a lot of challenges on how he's going to kind of adapt it to the stage. I'm kind of curious, Haynes, you obviously don't really know what to expect. You kind of know the loose storyline here, but like, what do you think this could possibly look like on stage? What are your thoughts?
Oh man, I'm not sure I want to venture in that direction. I want to be really surprised. So in a way, I haven't focused in and thought, I wonder how they changed it. I just sort of want to be a blank slate. I did notice online that there were the audition notice, and I went, oh, I'll click on the audition notice and see what kind of actors they're looking for. And that's where I went, well, wait a minute. There's a couple of characters that I really thought were pretty great. They don't seem to be in this story anymore. But that's fine. It made me realize, of course, it's interesting. It's like I'm more familiar with this situation from a Hollywood point of view. Novelists are always having their novels turned into screenplays, and often they say, the best thing I can do. Sometimes a novelist can do it, write the screenplay themselves, but often they just hand it over to screenwriters and they give them their blessing, make a great movie out of it. It depends on the book. But when you're moving from one style of storytelling to another, there's no reason to cling to you want to take the best of what's in a screenplay structure and let go of the other stuff. Like in a screenplay, it would be rare to have a scene that's more than a couple of pages long, like 2 pages long. And it would be very rare to have one character give a speech that's more than like this block of dialogue. Whereas on stage, you can have longer scenes. I mean, you could do anything in either structure, of course, but it's much more common to give people monologues on stage and have longer scenes. And so How did you change my story to turn it into a stage musical? I don't know. I imagine you would have to streamline it a little bit. I imagine you have to cut, like I set stuff in Las Vegas, where
Yeah.
the Las Vegas Strip is like part of the character, like being in a casino and all
Yeah.
the the all the trappings of that, because that's cinematic and visually interesting. And so if you're thinking as a visual storyteller for a movie, you want stuff like that. If you're just tracking the 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 story from the character's point of view, then that's less essential. And so you can cut some of this stuff. I mean, I had scenes in um, in Nepal on the edge of a mountaintop and stuff. And of course, you could do it on stage. You could do rear projection, or there's different ways to do these things. But I was thinking very cinematically, and I wouldn't want or expect you guys to think cinematically. And of course, you've turned it into a musical. So you're also looking for, where are the moments in the story that feel like a song is built into this moment. And so I would have some, it's funny, I haven't gone through the screenplay and thought about that, but I'm also a playwright. So I've written a number of plays that have music in them. So I'm familiar with this, like, get to this point and then, here comes a song. There's just places where you just feel that this is the moment for it. And or not just a song, but like, this is the moment for her song, or this is the moment for his big number, or this is where we got to, So I'm really looking forward to that, to find where Chad, you looked at it and went, that's the place for a song. In fact, I'm curious about that. How did you approach that aspect of it?
Well, I think that's even an interesting thing, because when I first asked to adapt it, I don't think I was thinking that it was going to be a musical. I just wanted to adapt it. So it wasn't until after we had done our first production with Miss the Boat Theater, which Chad was in. He was one of the lead characters. After, I think it was like closing night or something, he says, "Hey, if you're ever going to write another musical, I'd be interested in, doing some composing." And I was like, "Actually, I have a show that I think could be a good musical." So I forget if I might have had a draft already, and maybe I sent you the draft, and then we were off and running. So yeah, you can take it from your side, Chad.
So it was during COVID lockdown. So I
Oh.
was super bored. I reached out to Father. Hey, Father, love to try my hand at composing, and kind of sent him something that I was thinking about. And he sent back, "Hey, I'm working on a show. Here's this scene. It's kind of a comedic song about some doctors and stuff. Why don't you give it a go?" And he sent me some lyrics. I gave it a go, and he's like, "Great. So do you want to write the whole show?" And I go, "Oh, that sounds like a really big commitment. That sounds really hard. So I don't know." And he goes, "So?" And I'm like, "All right, I guess I'll give it a go." And then, kind of kicked it off. It's crazy that it's been about 5 years now.
Yeah. We started and stopped, and you and your wife had babies and that sort of thing. But yeah, so I did send Haynes. I sent him the opening number that we did from the cabaret, and the original that Haynes wrote it's almost verbatim, right? So it's Melvin at the whiteboard, and he's saying, I think I took that line straight from your script. And then in the movie version, there's a flashback, like I don't remember if it's cartoony but the actual asteroids are like hitting the ground and things like this. And then he kind of wakes up from his stupor or whatever. And in this one, it's the opening number, and it's really good. It was actually, I think it was the very last song that we finished, Chad.
Yeah, it was the last one because we felt like the opening song has to set the scene for the whole stage and kind of be kind of the launching point for everything, no pun intended. And we wanted that one going into that writing process to fully understand the show. So it was the last one we finished up, and it sounds like you may have heard it, but there are a lot of great lines in that one that get at the actuaries. One of my favorites is, there's no greater thrill than calculating free will, all variables controlled. Father's favorites is about spreadsheets, though.
Yeah. The VLOOKUP in your soul or something.
Yeah, it says dig down deep, a VLOOKUP in the sheets of your soul. So we had a lot of fun coming up with lyrics to that one. But kind of throughout the process, I mean, the thing that I told Father when we started writing was, hey, I want every song to be important, right? And for there to be no wasted space here. So there needs to be something that happens in every song that pushes the story forward. And if there's a song or two that maybe doesn't do that quite as much, it better be really freaking funny. And so I really do think we succeeded in that. I think that there are a lot of great comedic moments. There are surprisingly a lot of moments with a lot of heart. You know, we previewed this at the New Works Festival, put on by Miss About Theater last fall, and you know, there's kind of a big number by Melvin, and I had a lot of people coming up to me afterward and saying, I was just in tears in that moment, right? Like, you've gotten to know and love these characters, and you get to kind of come along with him on this journey. So I'm really excited for audiences to hear that.
Yeah, and you talk about, you know, Haynes, the moments where you need a song, music, and some of those are those same moments that when I read the screenplay a million years ago, or like, just like they just stayed with me even just as a spoken moment or a visual moment, and to put it to music as well. Oof, man. there's some really, yeah, just amazing, powerful. I can't wait to see it all dressed up, you know. So that's gonna be a lot of fun.
And to your credit, Haynes, there are moments in the Melvin timeline that just have so much heart. And as we were writing, we're like, man, this is so amazing to be given this story and this storyline that allows us to take a comedy and really make people feel important human emotions, right?
Well, thanks for saying that. I mean, this is what we aim for, you know?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that we probably changed, because how would you say the original long shot is, Haynes? It's man versus the elements, or man versus disease, or how would you call it?
Oh, like the root theme of it, like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it in terms of, well, okay. So the way I was sort of taught to look at a screenplay is it operates on two levels. Like, what do the characters want, and what do they need? So, and they're like almost like parallel stories. So the want is where you would find the like man versus nature. Like how does mankind, human being, deal with the physical, potentially lethal challenges of outer space travel, separation, you know. So on that level, that's what it is sort of a man versus nature story. Nature being lunar travel. But I don't feel like that's really the theme of it. The theme of it is more about what I talked about earlier. What is a truer, deeper, better way to assess the world, to see the world that you're in? Is it to analyze it and break it down into pieces that can be manipulated mathematically and calculated? Or is it to fully immerse yourself in the relational truth of the fact that we're not alone? We're not alone because we have a relationship with other people. We're not alone because we're connected to God in all respects. So this, like, there's a way of, so to me, it would be separation versus connection is kind of that deep theme. Because anytime you're saying, well, what are the statistics? You're saying, I've taken something fundamental and broken it down into little pieces that I can calculate, and that's useful, but it's in a sense not a true representation of the way things are.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's good, and that's still definitely Melvin. And then I would say we really made a conscious decision to make it into a rom-com, like, because in your story there's a love interest, but it was really a secondary thing. His voyage, his mission, his internal struggle is the primary, and then that was kind of, it happened, but it was secondary. And I was like, I need to make it a rom-com. I needed to bring, so I did change. What was your heroine? Her name was Penelope or
Priscilla,
I think. Priscilla, yeah. I did change that. I changed her and brought her character out more, I think, and made it into a rom-com. So I wanted her to be, she actually has the first song after the opening number, because I wanted to bring, like, it's her story too. She's struggling on the opposite way that Melvin is struggling. And that's a rom-com, right? We both don't think we need each other, but in the end, what we find is, like, no, we actually needed each other. That's what we needed. And that was hard. It was hard because that was what you didn't give me that, and I had to do that on my own, and it was a lot easier just to take the good stuff you gave me and put it on the stage. But I had to think really hard.
You had to do a little work, huh?
Yeah. And Krista was we had a beautiful song that we wrote early on, and we had to scrap it because it was like she was flat, she was shallow, she was not the right thing, and it was so hard to get her, and finally we got her, and the girl who's playing her in the cast is awesome too, and it's just she's complex, she's dynamic, she's it's good.
I remember a lot of conversations Father and I had about Krista and her character, and we would kind of go fluctuate from, Melvin's the focal point at the beginning, right, to we kind of overcorrected, and Krista had maybe more, but I thought that Melvin's story was always kind of the most enthralling, so we'd kind of shift back and forth. But to Father's point, I think he's correct. She's now a very complex character who very well complements Melvin's story, and getting that to happen in a way that wasn't overbearing and that was like kind of an opposite was really tough, but I think we got it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So, I can't wait to see that.
Yeah. And then I think the other thing we brought out, we put a sub couple, and they're kind of the opposite. They're the main players. They're all together. They're kind of on the mission together, but they show us the other side of the coin and have their own delightful kind of dramatic moments, and a really stellar song too that makes them worth. You don't want your supporting characters to be like, well, it's the supporting. It's like they get a really sweet duet. And some really powerful moments too. So they're kind of characters like, ooh, that would be, I would play that. I'd play that character.
And I don't know, Haynes, was there like so one of those characters, his name is Deke. He's, the kind of the best friend of Melvin. Was there a comparable character like that in the original screenplay? And the other thing I was just going to add, Father, is that the relationship between those two characters, Melvin and Deke, has surprisingly to me become extremely powerful. Deke has become such a likable character that their own storyline is just totally awesome too. So go ahead, Haynes.
I love to hear that. Yeah, there was a character like that, and offhand I can't remember his name, but I know
what was his name.
I know everything about him because I based him to a certain extent on a real person in my life. Okay.
Wow.
Not exclusively, but especially when it got to the like deeper elements of their friendship and how they just stick together. They're like they're for each other no matter what. Even though they're so different, they appreciate each other, and there's just like they're just a connection because they're old friends. I mean, they grew up together, right? They're from the same street. There was that whole element that they sort of have a song and chant that says we're the boys from this particular street or neighborhood. So, yeah, that was one of my very favorite characters in the screenplay. I was trying to write a character that would be super fun for a very funny, dynamic, over-the-top actor to play. You're always trying to write. You're trying to write roles that star actors will look at and go, "I want to play that role," because that increases your chance that your movie will get made. It also means that you're probably writing a compelling story, and it's the same exactly what you said about the songs. With a musical, you want all the main characters to have a great song, to have their moment where they get to shine, and where something, where they have something special, that special moment of performance. So I'm really excited to hear about that. The songs, really fun. And Deke, so I don't know exactly what Deke has become, but there is absolutely like a deep, fun friendship, companion, like bond between those two characters in my screenplay.
Yeah,
so
and I would say that's
better be there.
I know. As you say that to him, like, whew, I'm glad I changed his name, but he's the same. Good. He's the same guy. The names, I changed all the names, and this is just one of those fun things that writers do. If you catch it, you catch it. If you don't, no worries. But all the main characters who play with Melvin are all names of famous astronauts. That was what it was.
That's a great idea.
So Sally, Deke, and Krista.
Fantastic.
So yeah. So, but yeah, Deke is still he's your guy. He's your guy. You'll be happy with him.
and maybe one more question here, Haynes, is we have some more villainous type characters in the show as well, and I'm curious if that's a new invention or is that also in the original screenplay?
No, I think that's new. Yeah, because it was very different. That was the part where because the way that they were getting to the moon is different than the way that we're getting to the moon now. And so there was some fun characters, some really fun characters that I unfortunately had to cut. And even one of the gals who reads my scripts, and she's like, oh no, I think it was Chet McCracken or something like that. There was some super funny guys and there's some super funny parts, and I was like, it doesn't fit anymore. I had to cut it.
Yeah.
So you and I will be the only ones who know, though, Haynes. And her.
Yeah. So that's just the way it's got to be, Yeah, so I didn't really have villains. For me, that the challenges to the hero were more having to do with the incredible, almost insurmountable odds of the space travel, given the way it had to happen back then. So, in that sense, it was a little more man versus nature as opposed to bad guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Chad, I want to hear a little bit about your music background. Have you written other musicals before? Are you a songwriter, or how do you come into this situation?
So this part's going to be pretty short.
Well, I'll start by saying that Chad's got one of the best voices that I've ever heard, and I knew that he had done some arrangements of a cappella songs and had done some stuff like that. And he even arranged one of the songs from the musical that I wrote into an a cappella song that was just beautiful. So I knew he had the chops, whether he had the pedigree or not. I knew he had something.
Yeah.
But what's your I was in choir in high school.
I was in choir in high school. But then when I got to college, I actually started an a cappella group at my college. They didn't have one at the time. And I was actually in, various like honor choirs, national honor choirs and stuff, traveled around the country and, into Europe as well. And so I kind of had the music background, music theory background. But I was at St. Thomas here in Minnesota, studying finance and economics, which is very different than music.
You're Melvin.
You're
Yeah.
Melvin, exactly.
But then I spent 4 years then arranging all the music for the a cappella group and running rehearsals and all that kind of stuff. And so I did get to kind of informally study music composition there. And then, yeah, really fell in love with musical theater. And I also composed a song for the Archdiocese of Minneapolis St. Paul for their synod process, which is really fun. Um, and so I had very little music composition resume, and so I'm really thankful for Father Kyle for taking a chance on me. But I think I've just really enjoyed it, and it's allowed me to use both sides of my brain, right? Like when Father started with the script, his style is very different, right? He kind of just like goes through all these iterations, and the script just kind of changes seamlessly. Whereas I'm always like, as someone who is more of a Melvin, like, all right, we need to get the structure and then we'll fill in the space, right? Like we need to know what happens, what the transformation is, and then we'll kind of write to a template. And so it was a really cool process to get to work with Father Kyle. But yeah, the story of my background in music composition is pretty short.
But he's got a great knack at music, musicals, and the songs just have the feel, they have the heart. It's a very eclectic and the songs are very different, but yet you did a good job at like weaving them together so it doesn't sound like they're in totally different shows. But it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun stuff in it.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about like Joseph, the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, is like the songs are different, so you get variety. You never get bored, and so that was definitely one of my goals with this show. But like Father said, is kind of have kind of a theme. So a lot of the things that happen to Melvin, I would say, kind of are in that category of some sort of different style or genre. But the things that involve like Melvin at his core and his heart and his friendships, I think those are pretty aligned stylistically.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. That sounds great.
Yeah. Good. Well, any last thoughts before we wrap up, fellas?
Just what a pleasure. I mean, I think I sort of said it before, but you guys know you put a lot of work into telling a story. And this I've always felt was a good one. So one of the hard things about especially screenwriting is that some of them, almost all of them don't make it to the screen, and it's a huge thing for someone to have their screenplay turned into a movie. They would have written so many that don't make it, So the fact that this story that I've always cared a lot about has found its way into your lives and then through your creative processes and inspiration. It's very exciting and wonderful. I just feel very privileged that it all happened this way, and so appreciative of both of you for taking this story and caring about it and wanting to share it with other people.
Yeah, well, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that you wrote it, and I'm grateful that you said yes, because I was a little bit nervous when we were getting to the end. I'm like, shoot, I better actually write him and let him know that we're actually doing this, because what if he's like turned into this like snobby LA actor guy and he's like, no, I want full rights and I want that, and I'm like, and so I was like, so when you said great, I'm gonna come, I'm like, that's awesome. So I'm so excited for you to see it. I'm so sorry. Yeah. So anybody who's watching this, Haynes is flying in from LA. The three of us will be at opening night. So come check it out, opening night, and get to meet Haynes, get to ask any other questions you have, and just get to see a live premiere show on the stage. It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah. And I just want to give a quick shout out. So, the three of us can kind of grasp this in a way that most other people can't, but not only is it an awesome. It's so awesome to see our show kind of come to life, but it's incredibly humbling to see all the hard work people are putting into this. Haynes, you can't see it on the day to day because you're not, at rehearsals, but not only the actors practicing their lines and their music, but there are so many people who are working on ticket sales and props and all that kind of stuff that they'll never kind of get that onstage recognition. And it's so humbling. I feel so blessed to be a part of it. I know you guys do too. And so shout out to all those folks too.
Well, and that's the cool thing, right? Because that's always how I feel as a writer. It's like, well, until the director picks it up and the actors come and they get costumes and lights, it's just a piece of paper. And it was a piece of paper sitting in Haynes's, shelf, across the country for 25 years, and now it's going to be on the stage because of all these people who, it's just such a fun, cool process. So yeah, can't wait.
Yeah,
so
I
great.
feel very privileged to be part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks to you guys.
Thanks for joining us. And anybody, thank you for tuning in. And we hope to see you at the show coming up soon. God bless.